It's good to be the queen, except when it's not. Welcome to Ms. Mojo, and today we'll be counting down our picks for the top 10 shocking The Crown moments from Season 1.
My name is Elizabeth.
And long live Queen Elizabeth.
Before we begin, we publish new videos every day, so be sure to subscribe for more great content. For this list, we're taking a look at the juiciest scenes from the first season of this Netflix original series. Number 10. Queen Mary bows. Following the death of King George VI, Elizabeth suddenly feels the weight of the world on her shoulders, knowing that she'll soon be crowned queen. In spite of these overwhelming emotions, Elizabeth remains calm and composed as always. She has a hard time keeping it together at her father's funeral, however, as she recognizes the true gravitas that comes with her new position of power.
God, save the Queen.
It's especially daunting when Elizabeth encounters George's mother, Queen Mary, who bows before her granddaughter and new sovereign. While no words are spoken, the look on Elizabeth's face says it all. In just a couple of seconds, actress Claire Foy conveys shock, anxiety, uncertainty, and strength with one subtle expression. Number 9. Protect the kingdom.
There is also the other great love of my life, the crown.
The crown was practically served to Edward VIII on a silver platter, but he decided to give up his kingship to wed Wallis Simpson. Princess Margaret finds herself in a similar situation, as she's on the verge of giving up everything to be with Peter Townsend. Torn between supporting her sister and following her responsibilities as queen, Elizabeth seeks out Edward for guidance. Since Edward walked away from power in the name of love, you'd think he would tell Elizabeth to stand by her sibling.
I understand the agony you feel, and I am here to tell you, it will never leave you.
While Edward does sympathize with Margaret, he surprisingly advises Elizabeth to protect the kingdom. It's a genuinely devastating moment as Elizabeth realizes she must put the crown before all else.
You have it, and you must protect it.
Number 8. Churchill's portrait.
You're not just painting me, You're painting the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland and everything that great office represents.
Although age has seemingly taken its toll on Winston Churchill, he remains confident in his ability to serve the Queen. Upon turning 80, however, Churchill is forced to confront reality. As a birthday present from Parliament, Graham Sutherland paints Churchill exactly as he sees him. The Prime Minister isn't at all pleased with this notorious gift, arguing that it portrays him as old and frail. Above all else, he's infuriated that the portrait is actually pretty spot on, as much as he doesn't want to admit it.
Broken, sagging, pitiful creature, squeezing and squeezing.
That's not how it's being seen.
That is how it is, and I will not accept it.
He can burn the painting, but Churchill is unable to escape the fact that he's getting older and that his time in office must come to an end.
It is cruel!
Age is cruel!
Number 7. Down on your knees.
Hello? Where have you been?
In a golden age of television, The Crown is about as classy as it gets. So you can imagine our surprise when this upscale period piece dropped an oral sex reference. After a banquet is called, the Duke of Edinburgh is permitted some time to kill. Although Elizabeth has an appointment, Philip asks his wife to take the day off and get down on her knees.
Either I get some stilts so I can reach the heights of my new tall woman.
Or?
Or she could get on her knees.
To our shock, the Queen appears to be on board with this request, responding with a scandalous smile. Audiences probably weren't expecting this show to explore Elizabeth and Philip's sexual relationship. Yet, this short humorous scene goes there, reminding us that even members of the royal family have certain urges.
I can't do that.
Number 6. The Great Smog of London.
London has been brought to a halt by dense fog, which has descended overnight.
The Great Smog of 1952 marks one of Winston Churchill's most infamous hours in office. The result of air pollution and windless weather, the Big Smoke doesn't strike Churchill as a top priority at first.
It's fog, ma'am. It will lift eventually.
He's certain that it will pass in time, but this act of God ultimately claims thousands of lives, including Churchill's adoring secretary. Seeing her dead body, a broken Churchill recognizes the error of his ways and does everything in his power to prevent further chaos.
Only God can lift the fog. But I, as Prime Minister, am in a position to ease the suffering.
Following an invigorating speech from Churchill and a sudden change in weather, the Queen decides against sacking her Prime Minister. Of course, this wouldn't be the last time Elizabeth and Churchill's relationship hit turbulence.
You could see the wheels turning behind her eyes.
Number 5. Churchill deceives the Queen.
Stroke. Bobbity, that's all a minor stroke.
Although Churchill is dedicated to the crown, he's also determined to preserve his place in government. After suffering a stroke, he hides his health from Elizabeth at the risk of being replaced.
And no one can know, especially the Queen.
Carrying out his duties from bed, Churchill keeps her in the dark for a while, but the cat inevitably comes out of the bag. This builds to a powerful meeting where the young Queen gives her aging Prime Minister a stern lecture regarding loyalty, betrayal, and the wedge that's been driven between them.
A decision which feels like a betrayal not just of the covenant of trust between us and the institutions that we both represent, but of our own personal relationship.
The most poignant moment of all occurs as Churchill confesses that his days in office are likely numbered. That's okay, however, as Elizabeth has come so far since her coronation.
I look at you now, and I realize that the time is fast approaching for me to step down.
Number 4. The only person I have ever loved is you.
It's true, she and I, we are close.
Throughout the first season, it's occasionally implied that Prince Philip wasn't entirely faithful to Elizabeth during her early reign. Regardless, Philip grows increasingly jealous when his wife starts spending more time with Lord Porchester, also known as Porchy.
Porchy is like family.
Is he?
Yes.
As the tension reaches its boiling point, Elizabeth lays all of her cards on the table with the camera zooming in on her face. In a moment that finds the Queen simultaneously at her most domineering and her most vulnerable, she admits that a life with Porchy might have been easier. There's just one problem. Philip is the only person she has ever loved.
The only person I have ever loved is you.
While they eventually reconcile, the distance between Elizabeth and Philip has never been more apparent.
And can you honestly look me in the eye and say the same?
Number 3. God Save the Queen.
Ah, there you are. Come in.
Season 1's midpoint begins with a flashback to May 1937, a mere day before King George's coronation. A little Elizabeth sees the pressure her father is under as she helps him prepare for the big day. Then, in one of the show's most effective edits, we jump ahead almost 15 years to a grown-up Elizabeth trying on the crown.
It's not as easy as it looks.
That's exactly what the king said.
This opening perfectly complements the episode's conclusion, as the Queen is finally crowned at Westminster Abbey. Draped in royal attire, Elizabeth has the appearance of a goddess. Underneath it all, though, is an ordinary young woman. Something similar could be said about Elizabeth's father, who was a modest man behind all the smoke and mirrors.
Pull away the veil, and what are you left with?
Number 2. Margaret and Peter pulled apart.
Just until your 25th birthday. Then you'd be free to do as you wish.
Elizabeth and Margaret are kind of like Frozen's Elsa and Anna, minus the ice powers. One's very restrained and even cold at times. The other is an outgoing princess eager to get married. Since Peter Townsend is a divorcee, his union with Margaret would go against the Church of England, putting the Queen in a difficult position.
You've never liked it. Admit it. And you've hated how Peter and I have caught the popular imagination.
Elizabeth initially promises to support the marriage after Margaret turns 25, but she's unable to keep her word. Watching Elizabeth deliver the news is nothing short of heartbreaking, as Margaret not only loses the man she loves, but her sister as well.
I cannot allow you to marry Peter and remain part of this family. That is my decision.
Shattered over Elizabeth's decision, Margaret is unable to let it go. Okay, enough of the Frozen references.
I will never forgive her.
Before we get to our top pick, here are a few honorable mentions.
For Christ's sake, James! You're making bloody hard going out of this collar!
I'm afraid her blood ran as icy cold when she was alive, as it does now she's dead.
We ought to head back. Come on.
No, wait. Kiss me.
Number 1, I beg you make an exception.
On one condition. That you kneel.
Though there's no denying who wears the crown, Elizabeth and Philip frequently butt heads over who wears the pants in the family. Their power struggle hits an all-time high with Elizabeth's coronation on the horizon. Philip feels that he shouldn't have to kneel before his wife at the ceremony, leading to a confrontation that's as intense as it is understated.
Are you my wife or my queen?
I'm both.
The Duke of Edinburgh insists that Elizabeth make an exception for him. to which she responds with one word: no.
I beg you make an exception for me.
No.
Putting her roles into perspective, Elizabeth makes it clear that she might be Philip's wife, but she's also the bloody queen. In short, Philip's position in life will always be a step below hers.
God save the Queen! God save the Queen!
Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from Ms. Mojo and subscribe for new videos every day.